right, so we're doing kind of an impromptu Minuteman University 2A workshop, just kind of in the interim here between the Yankee Marshall show and the Daily Gun Show. And we got Clover Tech joining us from Texas. Thanks for jumping in.
You bet. Thanks for doing that.
And we were just sitting here, and I had some other invites out, but other people are doing stuff or too busy or whatever. So I figured I would head over to Gun Channels. We have a channel over there called New Panelist Hangout Questions. And this, I don't know if it tells us when it was created, back in 2015. Foose made this one. It's a channel that basically has a list of questions that when someone's new to Gun Channels and they're in a live hangout and they want to just a kind of a way to get to know everybody, people ask them these questions. So I figured I'd go through and ask Clover some of these questions. And we've got the chat, of course, running live over on Gun Channel. So anybody that wants to participate, oh, I guess I got the chat room right there. Feel free to jump in and be part of the conversation. So Clover, first off, how long have you been a member of Gun Channels?
I don't know, over a year, probably not quite a year and a half, but pretty close.
Right on. And then I think you said you found out about it watching a Yankee chat or something?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was probably Yankee.
And obviously you've been doing content for a while. You come from a computer background, and then you were doing your content or your project with the Clover Tech. How long would you say before you found Gun Channels?
October of 2015, I think. And then Gun Channels was June, or, well, I don't want to say, actually joining Gun Channels, you were upgrading or doing some stuff at the time. You were working on something, so the membership was kind of squirrely. So I kind of hung out on the YouTube sides with those that I'd found and whatever a couple of months, maybe even before I was able to actually get joined up. But I want to say the official join date was like June, maybe, of 2017. Yeah, June, I think, of 2017. So, yeah, it was from October of 15 to June of 17, however long that is.
Right on. So enough time to kind of play around and figure out what you wanted to do and have a couple of things established and whatnot. So when you came to Gun Channels, did anybody do this new member question thing with you?
I think so. I think I've been through this at some point. Yeah.
So anybody, nobody's obligated to answer any questions or anything. It's just really to get a conversation going and ideally kind of give people an idea what kind of the stuff you're into with shooting. So what areas of shooting do you enjoy?
Mainly the education / competition.
Okay. And then what brought you into the gun community?
Birth, if that's an acceptable answer.
So your family was already in the 4-H and stuff, or just hunting, or
just hunting and outdoor and camping and all of that. I can remember being on camping trips literally and going from like the campsite and being like taken to school and then picked up at school and brought back to the campsite.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
And when you're out camping as a kid, is there like a 22 there and you're shooting?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And 30-30. I mean, you get older or whatever, but yeah, shooting cans off of whatever, off of stumps, and usually it was camping along a river, so there was fishing involved and squirrels, and cooked the squirrels up right there at camp and that sort of thing.
You guys got more squirrels than rabbits out there?
Yeah, both are pretty thin at this point, and they're measly nowadays compared to what they used to be. They're both very, very small. It used to not be that way. And I don't know, maybe I got bigger. Maybe that's what happened. I'm not real sure, but it certainly seems like they're a lot smaller animals than they used to be, and I don't know if that's an environmental factor, with logging and different things that's went on, or what.
I think you're 100% right, Clover. They are smaller than they used to be. It's not that we've gotten bigger. I was looking at our library. They have old pictures of the pioneers, late 1800s, early 1900s. They have rabbits there that are almost as tall as a human. Like, no joke. Like, pictures of guys hunting rabbits that are over 4 feet tall, 4 to 5 feet long, like when they're holding them up. I mean, just crazy, huge rabbits. I have never seen one that big ever my whole life, and I've been hunting rabbits my whole life. So I think they've definitely gotten smaller. We took that gene pool out of the system of like the large genes or something, but I've never seen a jackrabbit get as big as the pictures I've seen.
Well, out here we've get a year with rain, and then there's more food, I guess, for the little stuff, for the plants and bugs and things, and then the rabbits are around. But then it'll be the next year the coyotes will be more, and then the rabbits will be down. So it's sort of like this weird juggling act with how the different elements of the environment are kicking in. And then there's like some boon years where it's just the rabbits are everywhere and they're fat, and then we'll have years where there's just seems like they're gone.
Right.
But anyway, so I don't think this one applies, but do you enjoy any competition shooting?
Oh, no, not at all. No. Recently have got into Steel Challenge. That's my first foray into any type of a speed, related competition. My background is very heavy in archery, and then more precision bullseye related stuff.
Yeah, that's still competition.
Sure. Yeah.
Bullseye pistol though, right? Not bullseye rifle.
No, bullseye pistol and rifle. Yeah, 3-position rifle mainly. Some 4-position every now and then. 4-position incorporates the sitting. 3-position is prone, kneeling, standing.
So then, what is this? This is shooting a piece of paper.
Oh yeah. Inch and 3/8 is the size of the target. The bullseye is pretty much the exact diameter of a 22 projectile.
And then, is this something that's sort of like standardized that everybody's shooting the same thing?
Yeah,
and
it's just pretty much NRA rules and all of that good stuff apply. Yeah, I don't remember. There's multiple NRA targets for that depending on the distance and style of match. I don't remember the particular target that is used in the match I like the best, but I do know it's an 1 3/8 is the total target size.
Yeah, they almost look like posted.
So it's very small. It's very small. I mean, people think at 50 foot, because that's the short distance, right? They're thinking 50 foot with a 22 rifle. Oh my God, that's easy. Yeah, right. Oh, with an 1 3/4 and the bullseye is the width of a 22, a little bit more difficult than you might think.
And that's optics or peep sights?
At that, most people use a peep globe style front sight and a rear peep aperture. Most people, that's what they're going to use in that situation, because with optics, you've got a situation to where the optics magnify. Well, they're also going to magnify any movements and things you have. So it's a lot more difficult to hold on target with optics at a short distance like that anyway.
And a peep helps you focus on it even at 100 yards, right?
Oh yeah, and the way the targets are designed, it's really cool because the target is a circle, right? And so on your bigger targets, it's just the center rings. But when we're talking the 50-foot precision, it's actually the entire target, all 1 3/8 inch is black with white rings, right? So it's a big black circle. And that big black circle centers perfectly in that front globe if you're using the right inserts for that. And if you have the right size rear aperture, those both fit perfectly inside the rear. So you line up all the circles, and if your mechanics, your form, if everything is right and it's lined up properly, then it's a bullseye shot.
And obviously 0 too.
Yeah, right.
You just a really good group somewhere. Okay. Are you from a communist state? That seems like a real biased question to ask.
It depends on what part of the state you go to, I guess, right? As a whole, I guess no. But yeah, if you go into Houston, DFW, and I don't want to say DFW. Fort Worth is not too terribly bad, but Dallas certainly is. Houston, Austin, San Antonio, pretty doggone liberal in those areas.
You've lived in Texas your whole life?
Entire life, yeah. Mm-hmm.
It says, what firearms do you own? Go in as much or as little detail as you'd like.
Too many that I couldn't even give you a number. So, and as far as the collection, I mean, it varies. really into, and it's because of a lot of the background in shooting sports and 22 competition and things like that. I own a lot of 22s. I really like a lot of the older, uh, you know what, 30, 40s, 50s models, 22 rifles. I mean, those suckers were just rock solid, dead accurate rifles for whatever reason. Compared to, you know, people talk about the modern stuff, the little Mossberg or whatever it is, Plinkster and the Savage 94 and the other ones that, you know, you see nowadays, and these crickets and a lot of these other 22 rifles you see, even the 1022 to an extent. Um, and man, you just can't hardly beat those old school rifles like that. They were just built right.
Like an old Winchester Model 52 or something.
Oh yeah, yeah, and especially if you get into like the, um, what am I thinking? I can't even think of numbers off the top of my head, but some of the old like Mossberg trainers and stuff like that. Um, Man, I mean those are sure enough competition rifles back in the day, and they will still hold their own with competition rifles, modern competition rifles. It's quite amazing when you see, you know, you're on a you're on a firing line, a competition line, and often I help with range officer and things like that at competitions, and you know you'll see a rifle that is what, pushing 80 years old or something, and you know right there next to a $5,000 on shoots or something like that, you know, and it's pretty well hanging with it. It has to do with the skill of the person pulling the trigger, basically.
And familiarity with the machine, right? So if you got ultimate familiarity and the machine's capable, it's probably more capable than us humans, then you got a good match, and then you don't need the machine to make up for your lack of skill, right?
Right. Exactly. That's where a lot of people in a lot of things, and it translates over, I think, into the defensive realm and everything else too. But I think a lot of people they they drop money trying to compensate for the lack of skill and the lack of form and that sort of thing. They spend an awful lot of money where they don't necessarily have to do that. If they would work on their mechanics and their fundamentals, uh, they would be able to do just as good with a lot less money into their equipment.
No, I'm not gonna. I mean, I'm not one for spending people's money, but on the other hand, it's just like cars or something, or like guitars. I think I have a lot of friends that are into guitars, and they'll spend is more money than, you know. I watch them spend money, and I'm just thinking, that's a gun, that's a gun, that's a gun, that's a gun, that's a gun. Every time they fiddle with their guitars, they're not buying new
Right.
guitars; they're just fiddling with it, and they're spending gun money on it, right? So it's just priorities and what you like. And they're not musicians; they're not expecting to be, you know, Jimi Hendrix or something, but they certainly enjoy it. And there's some level of like, I bought the same such and such as Jimi Hendrix plays, and now I can sound like him. So you know, there's that amount of time that we have that we're not at the range, and that we just like fiddling with our guns. Like we were talking about the little tiny revolvers in Yankees chat a little earlier,
Yeah.
and you know they're just neat to experience. They're such tight little
Wow.
well-made machines. They're super solid. They're literally little tiny revolvers that work good, and they're just neat to experience and fiddle with. Even if you don't want one, you know, most people will appreciate just fiddling with one. And to some extent, the race guns and the competition super fancy rifles and stuff, I bet you it's a lot of that. Like you just have a lot of fun building it and coming up with like a
Yeah, no,
combination of
absolutely.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And Yankee put out a video that was very good on that the other day, that I seen, that
You
was
must
talking.
your microphone now must not be working right. It
Uh,
sounded like Yankee put out a good video.
yeah, yeah. Well, he gets due every now and then, right? But it really was, because it talked about their firearms just tools, and he's like, they're also works of art, and uh, you know, mechanical marvels, and you know there's a lot of different aspects to it, and different people appreciate firearms, you know, even on an individual basis from one to the other, right? They're like, oh well, I really love this one. Well, it looks like crap, right? But you know, mechanically it's solid and it serves a purpose that they've got, so they really like that. And then this one may not be the best in the world, but it's gorgeous. So you know there's a certain value that they place It's not a, what would that be? Not a tangible value, I guess, necessarily, but it's more of an intrinsic value that people place on things. And you're right, they do that with all kinds of things, and firearms is just one of them.
And it don't matter how cool or awesome or like accurate or tactical like your grandpa's gun that he gives you is. It's your grandpa's gun that he gave you, right?
Right. Or even anything that brings back nostalgia. See, in my collection, I've got a lot. I talked about the 30s, 40s, 50s models, 22s, and stuff like that. I really like late 1800, early 1900 stuff, because that was around about the time that you walked into the feed store, you could grab a pistol, you could order stuff through the mail. If you were way out on the farm and you needed to, do shotgun, or a shotgun for junior that's coming up or whatever, you pick up the catalog and order one or whatever. And there's just something about the culture and the Americana in that time range. And a lot of those guns that I've got that are that way, they're not worth anything. They're old as all get out at this point. They all fire. And they're not necessarily the most accurate. They're not necessarily the most well built or anything like that. But it's just something about that period and the history behind it that's just it's exciting and intriguing to me. That was a cool time with firearms in this country.
All right. Well, with that, I'm going to wrap it up because we're about to do episode 699 of the Daily Gun Show.
Oh, almost there.
Yeah, tomorrow will be episode 700. So a lot of these other chats went around acting like, oh, it's so difficult to do something once a week, whatever. So we're doing episode 699 here in a minute. And then anybody who is over on the Gun Channel side can ask for a link. We'll have that thing set up here in just a moment. It'll be on the Daily Gun Show channel on the Stupid Ass YouTube, and it'll be on the Daily Gun Show channel over on Gun Channels. Thanks, Clover, for jumping in and giving us a little insight. Let's pick your brain a little bit and let people know about this new panelist questions. If you're new to Gun Channels, or you just wonder what would it be like to have Dead Horse go through these questions. He's always asking people, but you're allowed to ask him. Grab them. They're at the channel called New Panel Hangout Questions. Just type in new questions or new panelists somewhere and it'll find it. And
that's a good point. There might be some new people out there watching that are like, oh, hey, I just found this place. I don't know what, they could always hop in and ask us, right?
Yeah, where's this crazy guy that thinks open-faced hot dogs are sandwiches? And then you could ask him these kind of questions and find out that he talks about guns also. So that's what Gun Channels is. It's community, and that's what it's all about, is participation. So again, thanks, Dead Horse, for jumping in. In about 3 minutes, we'll have Daily Gun Show episode 699 going down.
Let's do it.